The hoists groaned like old whales, their pulleys echoing through the vertical canyon that connected the subterranean city of Halcyon with the forgotten surface. Rowan Shea leaned into the iron lattice cage that enclosed the freight elevator and listened for an off-timber whine, his favorite kind of warning. When cables complained in a minor key, it meant he would spend the afternoon with wrenches and coffee instead of writing yet another compliance report. The whistle came, sure enough, rising in pitch when the motors slowed. Rowan thumbed the emergency stop and let the cage settle between level 12 and 13. Through the grill he could see pipes sweating condensation and the soft glow of algae lamps painting everything green. 2 decades earlier, people still described that light as calming. Now it was just the color of captivity. He opened the maintenance panel and found the expected fault, a cracked ceramic brake pad. It was nothing that justified a stop in mid-shaft, but Rowan liked the privacy. He wanted to be alone, with the rumors running through his mind, rumors about the killer sky, about sunlight that no longer killed. Officially, the ultraviolet spike of 2084 had sterilized the surface, and the only safe habitable zones left were deep beneath bedrock. Unofficially, Rowan had read instrument telemetry most citizens never saw. Replacement parts for elevator sensors arrived pre-calibrated, so no one questioned the numbers scrolling past the inspection viewport. Rowan questioned everything. Last night, over noodles, he had compared 3 months of raw data. Midday UV readings had dipped to levels unseen since before the spike. Someone had to see the sky with unfiltered eyes, and Rowan had the keys. He replaced the brake pad, logged a fake fault code, and restarted the lift. Minutes later, he stepped off on level 0, the customs checkpoint, where every shaft ended at a pressure door. It was guarded, always, by 2 members of the Glare Corps. They wore obsidian visors that reflected torchlight and rumor alike. "Delivery?" the taller guard asked. "Relay coils for wind sensors," Rowan lied, hefting an empty metal case. "Maintenance order B3011. The guard studied a clipboard that almost certainly listed no such order, then handed Rowan a form to sign. Fear kept these soldiers obedient, but audits kept them thorough. Luckily, Rowan carried forged stamps. He pressed the rubber seal against the paper, hoping his heartbeat wasn't audible. The pressure door unlatched with a sigh, and he walked into the vestibule, alone except for a humming UV meter mounted above the outer hatch. Most citizens had never seen that meter. Fewer still understood its archaic scale. Rowan did. The needle hovered well below the red kill zone. His breath caught. He disengaged the final lock and stepped into a world he'd only known through cautionary films. The ruined Earth, crisply sunlit and lethal. Except it wasn't. The sky overhead was a high, gentle blue, not the violent glare depicted in propaganda posters. Cumulus clouds lounged like sheep. Grass pushed through cracked pavement, and he smelled something spice-sharp and alive. Beyond the bunker entrance, a staircase emerged onto a plaza where wind-blown leaves chased each other. He squinted, waiting for the legendary sting of radiation. None came. The warmth on his skin felt like a forgotten lullaby. He timed 5 minutes, then 10. Still no blistering, no nausea. Rowan's eyes watered, partly from brightness, partly from outrage. Generations had been driven underground by fear, but fear could be manufactured. Someone was still manufacturing it. He collected leaf samples, stuffed them into his tool satchel, and rode the elevator back down. While the cage sank, he rehearsed ways to share what he'd found. The obvious route, report to civil science, would trigger a data gag so fast he'd never again see daylight. But Halcyon did have one underloved institution still permitted to gather large crowds. The Mechanists' Guild, which hosted weekly safety seminars in Auditorium Red. Rowan's ID badge granted him the podium. He needed corroboration first. Rowan day-toured to biosciences level, where his old schoolmate Dr. Liang Waverly cataloged fungi for the Nutritional Council. Liang's laboratory smelled like yeast and restless dreams. Her back was turned as she pipetted something luminous. "You still harvesting glowing bread?" Rowan asked. "Rowan Shea, breaker of elevators." She looked up, pale brown ponytail bobbing. "Nobody eats my bread. It's a bioradiation assay. What's in the bag?" He laid the leaves on sterile cloth, describing the venture topside in quick, hushed sentences. Liang listened without interrupting, though her eyebrows performed acrobatics. Finally, she waved a Geiger wand over the specimens. The instrument clicked lazily. Sectin noise. "These leaves are cleaner than half our hydroponic kale," she said. "Chlorophyll ratio looks normal too. I can run UV exposure dyes, but it'll take hours." "Do it, and keep quiet. I plan to wreck some paradigms tomorrow night at the Guildhall." Liang stared at him as if assigning an equation. "Rowan, do you know how much money the glare cartels funnel into maintenance, agriculture, into every ministry? They sell visors, shelters, SPF 900 gel. Our entire credit system is pegged to glare futures. If you're right, you're threatening an economy." "Then help me threaten it," he said. She slid the leaves into an analysis chamber. "Meet me at 1800 if the data match what you felt on your skin. I'll stand beside you on that stage." Rowan exhaled. "Bring sunscreen for symbolism. Comedian." While Liang inserted sample IDs, Rowan glanced at a wall monitor showcasing algae lamp output quotas. It depicted, alongside luminous graphs, a slogan he'd read since childhood: "Sunlight, what doesn't blind you yet will kill you soon." He vowed to erase it from memory. He spent the next hours tuning grav limiter coils, enough normal work to camouflage anxiety. At 17:30, his wristcom chimed. A single icon appeared, a green circle overlaying a sun. Liang's verdict. Rowan sprinted. Inside the lab, Liang and another figure waited. Kira Nova, Halcyon's late-night broadcast jockey. Her voice was the city's secret addiction, sliding through utility ducts after curfew. Kira specialized in pirate remixes of official news, declassified dreams, she called them. "I told Kira because she has transmitters," Liang said before Rowan could grumble. "If we can't fill a lecture hall, we'll fill every earpiece after midnight." Kira extended a hand. "I already drafted an opener. Everything you know about the sky is a commercial." Rowan shook her hand, grateful but overwhelmed. "Proof first, Liang." She projected data onto a hollow wall. Spectral lines, UV flux trending downward for 15 years, mortality curves that contradicted public health broadcasts. The most damning slide paired current UVA readings with those from 2080s, showing a 90% drop. "Atmospheric ozone has repaired itself," Liang said. 2 decades ago it was shredded, plankton rebound, volcanic aerosols reduced industrial output after the exodus. It all helped. The sun's the same. Our filter grew back." Rowan's voice came out thin. "So the cartels lied." Kira snapped her fingers like a flamenco dancer. "They didn't just lie. They invested in the lie and forced everyone else to buy shares. Fear economies are so stable you can mortgage despair." Rowan paced. "We need a demonstration impossible to spin. I can't escort the entire population topside." "You can bring the sky underground," Liang interrupted. "Auditorium Red has a retractable stage roof, sealed since '87. If we ride my anti-rad sensors to level 0, broadcast them live, then open that roof." Rowan interrupted back. "Sensors are fine, but we need to show real sunlight bathing real people, not just numbers. We stand under it ourselves." Kira's grin widened. "I'll make sure every headset is tuned to the hall's security cams. Even the glares watch my stream to see if I mention them." Rowan felt the plan crystallize. "Tomorrow, mid-semicentennial maintenance review, full house guaranteed. At 1300, we unseal the roof," Liang added. "No goggles, no gel, no meltdown." Kira raised an eyebrow. "Assuming we survive to that hour." "Cartel intelligence is not theoretical," Rowan tapped his belt pouch. "I service their elevators. If they come, they'll be stuck between floors." They sealed the conspiracy with a shared laugh that teetered toward hysteria. That night, Rowan slept in the lowest dormitory where bedrock muffled mechanical hums. Dreams carried him to a meadow where gears sprouted like flowers, turning their petals toward the sun. He woke before shift horn and found 2 Glare Corps officers standing by his bunk. One held a suspension notice, the other a stun baton. "Maintenance irregularities," the first officer barked. "Report for inquiry." "Which irregularities?" Rowan asked, stalling. "Your own," the second officer smirked. They marched him through corridors that converged on the cartel's administrative level. a marbled lobby with black glass pillars. Rowan's pulse hammered, but adrenaline sharpened thought. He spotted an emergency ventilation grate behind a statue. Elevators were his domain, vents his cousins'. When an incoming crowd forced the guards to maneuver, Rowan threw his weight sideways, slamming both officers into civilians. In the chaos, he dove for the grate, popped the latch, and wriggled into darkness. He crawled through shaft arteries until he recognized the hum of Auditorium Red's service lift. Voices filtered up, stagehands rehearsing evacuation protocols. So the cartels expected trouble here, too. Good. They'd concentrated their suspicion on the wrong timeline. The event began in 3 hours. Rowan shimmied down to machinery level, where Auditorium Red's retractable roof motors had slept for decades under dust tarps. He verified lubricant levels, bypassed rusted safeties, and wired a manual override to his wristcom. One button press would peel back the hall's metal skin like a tin of sardines. The hall filled quickly that morning. Engineers, welders, scaffold runners, people who kept Halcyon breathing but rarely received applause. Halcyon builders, people who kept Halcyon breathing but rarely received applause. On stage, a panel of dignitaries extolled risk mitigation markets. Rowan and Liang sat among tangled cables, appearing busy. Kira was invisible, voice routing through hidden speakers providing musical interludes. Each fragment of the plan clicked on schedule until a hush fell. Director Caro of the Glare Consortium lumbered to the podium. Caro's suit shimmered with embedded solar thread, a garment that supposedly hardened under UV exposure. The irony tasted like ash. He launched into charts forecasting lethal spikes next quarter, urging citizens to double their glare credit hedges. Each exaggeration stoked the crowd's familiar dread. Rowan felt the room slump. Liang nudged him. Time! Rowan hopped on stage, cutting Caro's mic. Gasps erupted. Caro's face purpled. Elevator mechanic Rowan Shea, guild member 323K, he announced. Director Caro's charts are 20 years out of date. The sky is no longer lethal. Today we prove it. A roar of whispers ricocheted off concrete. Security personnel advanced, but Liang thrust a sensor wand in front of them. This device records real-time UV, she declared. Read the values. The nearest guard looked. Confusion softened his posture. Numbers showed low risk. Caro tried to snatch the wand. Liang spun away. Rowan tapped his wristcom. Overhead, motors screamed to life. Dust rained as the roof parted down the center. A spotlight of pure daylight knifed through gloom, illuminating floating motes like newborn galaxies. People screamed, some in terror, some in wonder. Rowan stepped into the light, arms spread. Liang joined him. Kira, still unseen, broadcast the feed. Citizens of Halcyon, those people are unprotected, her voice sang. They have no visors, no gel. Watch them burn, or watch them live. Seconds ticked. Caro shouted for shutters to close, but Rowan had locked out manual controls. Rowan felt warmth, not searing, just insistent. His exposed skin tingled the way it did in childhood summers he barely remembered. The crowd's screaming eased into hush, replaced by ragged breathing, then sobs. One by one, people removed protective goggles. Faces lifted toward the alien star that had birthed them. Director Caro pulled a pistol, ceremonial, non-lethal darts, but scary enough. He fired at Rowan. The dart thunked against an overhead truss when Caro remotely dropped a curtain in its path. Stagehands tackled Caro. The hall erupted, not in panic, but in collective fury. Workers who spent lives under fluorescent algae light now saw the gold they were denied. They understood their future to flourish one last time, never to die more guiltless. Minutes passed. Rowan's skin remained merely pink. Liang's sensor still read safe. Security officers let their weapons dangle, mesmerized. Kira stepped from backstage, her silver headset glowing. Transmission complete. 93% of Halcyon tuned in. Cartel offices receiving same feed. Stock market in free fall. Glare credits worth less than used bubble wrap. Rowan swallowed. And Caro, the once mighty director, lay hog-tied with extension cords. He wept, repeating, "It wasn't supposed to last this long. We needed more time." Liang crouched beside him. "Time for what?" "To pivot," he rasped. "Diversify into surface property. Couldn't let panic fade until we owned everything up there." Rowan felt nauseous, for reasons that had nothing to do with radiation. He turned to the audience. "We stayed underground so cartels could auction the sky." A tidal exhale rippled through the hall. Then applause rang it, building unstoppable. People hugged strangers, faces wet. The sunbeam widened as the roof completed its retraction, revealing an oblong window to blue infinity. Seagulls, actual seagulls, circled overhead, their cries filtering down like laughter. News of the revelation, as it was soon called, spread beyond Halcyon within hours. Neighboring vault cities demanded independent UV audits. Some cartels tried last-ditch sabotage, but service crews now doubted every directive. Lifts carried citizens topside by the thousands. Families walked crumbling highways sprouting lavender. Children chased bees that had never tasted root lamp nectar. Rowan spent the next week racing between elevator hubs, guiding novices how to unlock surface hatches. Viang co-chaired the new Civic Transition Council, drafting policies for phased migration and soil recovery. Kira became the voice not of rebellion but of reckoning, narrating humanity's re-emergence. One dawn, Rowan climbed the original stair he'd first ascended alone. The plaza was alive with tents and chalk murals. A little girl tugged his sleeve. "Mister, is it true you fixed the sky?" He crouched. "The sky fixed itself. I only opened a door." She pointed at a freight cage being winched up, empty. "Can you fix that too? We want to ride." Rowan grinned. "You won't need it much longer, but yes, I'll keep it safe until then." High above, the sun cleared a ridge. Its rays painted the elevator cables copper. Rowan closed his eyes, letting light draw geometric patterns on his eyelids. For once, gears inside him relaxed. There would be new jobs, installing shade during heat waves, teaching citizens about melanoma that still could occur. But those were normal challenges, not apocalypses. Footsteps approached. Liang, wearing a straw hat that made her look like an agricultural poster, handed him a cup of something clear. "Rainwater," she said. "Fresh, not acid." They sipped in silence. Kira's voice wafted from portable speakers. "Morning, Sunseekers. Day 3 above. Reminder, the horizon is not a wall. You can actually walk that far." Rowan chuckled. She'll have to rewrite her entire lexicon now that we're not hiding. Liang linked her arm through his. "You'll have to rewrite all your elevator manuals. Vertical isn't the only direction anymore. Horizontal is overrated," he teased. But his gaze followed birds drifting sideways across the awakening world. He realized his chest was expanding easily. Tunnel air had always felt dense and damp, but this was breathable excitement. "We'll need a new motto," Liang mused. "How about, what enlightens you can't imprison you?" She wrinkled her nose. "Clunky." "Give me time. I'm only a mechanic." They laughed, and the sound rolled across open space, unfettered by rock walls. Behind them, the subterranean gateway still bustled, but the traffic trend had reversed. People sought exits, not shelter. Some would choose to stay below, Rowan knew. Communities adapt. Halcyon might remain a haven during solar storms that would still come. Yet the myth had died. As the sun climbed higher, volunteers raised canvas canopies to shade infants and elders. Children helped, learning to respect light rather than fear it. The world was healing, but so were they. Rowan drained his cup and surveyed the plaza. Cables, pulleys, bearings, everything he understood, now served a liberation he'd scarcely dared dream. He touched Liang's hand. "Ready to explore?" "Let's fix what truly needs fixing," she replied. They walked toward the open horizon, daylight weaving golden circuitry on the ground before them. Behind, the once sacred elevator stood idle, doors ajar, no guard to halt passage. It had become what all machines yearned to be, a tool outgrown by its creators. evidence that progress had chosen a new path. And above the steel lattice, the sky kept pouring its harmless, necessary radiance, bright enough to power cities, tender enough to kiss skin, honest enough to end an empire of glare.